All right, folks. We have been working during our first week of school on order of operations and evaluating expressions. So we have reviewed GEMDAS, where we do our grouping symbols first, then our exponents, then we multiply and divide from left to right, and then we add and subtract from left to right. So far, I have made you show your work for those problems, every single step of it. But today what we are going to do is look at using the Desmos calculator to evaluate those same expressions. So today you are not going to be showing work. We are going to use the calculator instead and talk about how to enter these problems correctly on the calculator. All right, so first of all, here is a set of example problems that we're going to be doing today. I'm going to need to be able to see this document as well as my calculator at the same time. So I'm going to click up here in this bar at the top, and I'm going to drag this to the right, all the way to the right as far as I can, and then I'm going to let that go. I'll need to resize this, but notice now that just takes up half of my screen. The other thing that I'm going to go get, here is our Schoology page. You will remember that on this Schoology page there is a link to the Desmos calculator, so I'm going to come down here and click on Online Calculator, and then here's my link to Desmos, so I'm going to click on that. Same thing, I want this to only take up half of my screen so that I can see those problems that I'm going to do. So I'm going to click this and drag it to the left as far as I can. And so now I'm able to see both things very nicely. I can see my Desmos calculator over here and my problems over here. So that may be something you can do on your Chromebook as well. So remember, all I did is I clicked in this bar up here at the top, drug it all the way to the right, clicked on the bar up here, drug it all the way to the left, and that should split the screen so you can see the two things together. On the Desmos, right now, we don't care anything at all about this graph section. We're not going to do graphing. We're going to evaluate these expressions and get answers. So let's get ready to do this number one. I'm going to come over here to Desmos, and I want to click inside of this top white bar. And you'll notice when I do that that a cursor appears so that I can start to type in my problem. Now, to type in the problem, you can use the keyboard on your computer, but you'll also notice down here in this left-hand corner that there is a little picture of a keyboard. So I'm going to click on that Show Keypad. You'll notice when I hover over it, it says Show Keypad. So I'm going to click on that, and then I've got all of my symbols that I'm going to need. So the first thing in this problem is the number 29. Use your computer keyboard or the Desmos keyboard to type that in. Then I want minus. So I'm going to press the minus button, and again that could be done on the computer keyboard as well. Then I want parentheses. So you'll notice on Desmos you have a left and a right parentheses right over here. Those are on your computer keyboard as well. So I'm going to click that left parentheses, and then I want to do 11 minus. And then here comes the first place where we need to kind of talk about something different. We want to type in 2 raised to the third power. So you're going to enter the 2 first. To raise it to the third power, you're going to come over here to this little button right here that says A raised to the B power. So I'm going to click on that. And what you'll notice is my cursor jumps up there high where I can type in that exponent. So I'm going to press the 3 button now, either on the Desmos keypad or on my computer keypad. And you'll notice that it puts that exponent in for me, and it looks the way that it should. One thing I do need to point out here is I need you to look right here. This cursor right now is next to that 3. He's up high. So watch what happens if I try to go ahead and put in my parentheses. You'll notice the parentheses are little tiny parentheses, and they're up there with that 3. I don't want that. I want the parentheses, look over here, to be big. and to cover the entire problem. So I'm going to hit my backspace button right here. And what you'll need to do is this. You've typed in your exponent of 3. To tell Desmos, hey, I'm done with that exponent and I'm ready to move on, you're going to come down here and hit this right arrow. Right below the word functions, hit the right arrow. And you'll notice your cursor drops back down and becomes big. So now I can hit my left parentheses key and then continue on with my problem. So next I want plus, and then I want 6 to the second power. So I press the 6, and you'll notice over here that your Desmos has a to the second power. So a to the second does the squaring, and then a to the b power is for all of those other exponents. Now, one of the things that I would recommend you do when you get to this point in the problem is that you stop and make sure that what you have typed in looks exactly like what's on the paper. So compare what's in this bar with what's over here on the paper, and let's make sure those two match up, and they do. So I'm going to come down to here now and press this blue enter key. I think you could also press the enter key on your computer keyboard. And notice that it tells me right here that the value of that expression is 62. So as long as I type carefully and I make sure that this looks exactly like it does on the paper over here at the right of my screen, then I should be in good shape. Okay, now let's look at this number 2. We see 4 to the third power. We've already talked about how to enter that exponent, but I want you to notice this time that in this problem, you've got these vertical bars. Those vertical bars, you may remember, are absolute value bars, and absolute value tells us how far a number is from 0 on a number line. Now, the good news is that your Desmos calculator does have those absolute value bars. So if we come all the way over here to the left, right above the ABC, that you can see on my screen, you'll see right there the absolute value of A. So when I need absolute value bars, that's what I'm going to use. All right, so let's type this problem in. We've got 4 to the third power. So I'm going to type in my 4. I'm going to come over here and press this A to the B power button. My cursor jumps up there so I can type in my exponent, and I'm going to put in my 3. So notice the 4 to the third on my calculator, it looks just like the 4 to the third over here. But notice my cursor is still up high there, so I want to hit my right arrow here, right below functions, so that my cursor drops back down, and then I want to do a minus. So I have 4 to the third minus. Now here's where I need my absolute value bars. So I'm going to press this absolute value of A over here. And notice the bars pop up. And then I need to put in negative 8. Your subtraction sign is your negative sign as well. So you're going to do minus 8 to put in that negative 8. Now, that negative 8 is the only thing that I want inside of those absolute value bars. So I'm going to come over here now, and I'm going to click to the right of the absolute value bars. And you'll notice what happens is the cursor comes out of there so that I can continue on with my problem. All right, now after the absolute value of negative 8, I want times 6 plus 16. So I'm going to do times 6 plus 16. Now again, I'm going to compare what I have typed right here to what I have over here on my paper. And those look the same, so it looks like the answer to this problem is 32. So there's number 1 and number 2. Notice they look on the calculator just like they look on the paper. Now, when you're done with these problems, I don't know about you, but I don't especially like to have a lot of stuff on my screen at one time. So, you may want to clear problem number 1 before you enter problem number 2. You may want to clear number 2 before you enter number 3. To clear problems on this Desmos calculator, you'll notice each of these boxes has an X in it. So I can come over here and I can click that X, and problem number 1 is gone. If I wanted to clear problem number 2, same thing. I can hit that X, and problem number 2 is gone. So when you do your assignment today, and I think you'll like this, when you do your assignment today, you are going to type these problems into the calculator. I want you to practice that and get comfortable with it. And then just write down the answer. So you have my permission just for today to not show any work. All right, we're over here now at problem number 3. He has absolute value bars, he has an exponent, so let's type this in exactly as we see it. Now you'll notice the first thing is a negative sign. Again, the subtraction sign is the negative sign on the Desmos calculator, so I'm going to hit my minus. Now I need my absolute value bars, so I come over here, absolute value of A right there, click that, and then inside I want a negative 9 minus 10. So I'm going to do my subtraction sign for my negative, and then my 9, and then my subtraction and my 10. All right, notice my cursor is inside the absolute value bars right now. I'm ready to go outside, so I'm going to put my mouse over here and click. That brings me outside. Now I want plus 12 raised to the third power, so plus, and then 12, and then to raise it to the third power I use my A to the B button. Cursor pops up, I can type in the 3. Notice again how that cursor is up high. If I were to go ahead and try to type the rest of this problem and do minus, well, it came back down there. What I need to do when I'm up there next to that exponent is hit my right arrow to move on, and then do 6 times, well, excuse me, minus, and then 6 times 3. And notice the answer on this problem. This is a pretty good one. It's 1,691. But again, I would compare this to what you have over here and make sure they look the same. If they don't look the same, then you need to try again. You need to type again. All right, so there's number 3. Now, these last two, when you look at them, number 4 and number 5, you'll notice that you have a fraction bar in those problems. And if you look over here on your Desmos, over here on the left, I don't see a fraction bar. No fraction bars in here. No fraction bars over here. What you need to remember is what a fraction bar means. A fraction bar means that we are dividing. So when you need to enter a fraction bar on Desmos, you are going to use the division sign. Now I want you to listen to what I'm about to say very carefully. You need, because all of this stuff has to go on the top and then all of this stuff has to go on the bottom, you need to press that division bar first to get your fraction all set up. If you wait, if you type in the top and then hit divided by, it's not going to work out for you. Let me show you that real quickly. All right, let me do negative parentheses 8 minus 11. Close my parentheses. Now notice I want to raise that to the third power, so I do A to the B to raise my cursor up and put my 3. Hit my right arrow to get my cursor to come back down, and then I'm going to do minus 3 parentheses 14 and close the parentheses. All right, now that's the entire top of this problem. Now I'm ready for my fraction bar. Watch what happens if I hit my divided by symbol. You see what happened there? Instead of putting the divided symbol, the fraction bar underneath all of that, it only put it underneath the 3 minus 14. So don't start typing immediately when you see a fraction like this one. Here's what I want you to do instead. Let me clear that off. When you look at this fraction and you see that it's got this problem on the top and problem on the bottom, what I want you to do is hit that division symbol first. So you'll notice right there is my fraction bar, and right now my cursor is on the top of that fraction. If I click down here in this gray box, you'll notice that it switches me to the bottom. So let me get back up top, and now we're going to type in what we see on the top. So we've got our negative, parentheses, 8 minus 11, close the parentheses. Then we want to raise that, so A to the B, to the third power. Hit your right arrow to make the cursor come back down. and then do minus 3 parentheses 14. Close the parentheses. Now, take a look at the top over here. Compare it with the top over here. You'll notice they're the same. So now I can click down here at the bottom and type in my 2 to the 4th power minus 7. So for 2 to the 4th power, it's the 2, then a to the b, and then the 4. Hit your right arrow to make the cursor come back down, and then minus 7. So again here, I would take a minute to compare what's over here with what I've typed in, and I can see they look exactly the same. You'll notice this time that your answer is a decimal. Now here's something kind of cool we can do with this. If you'll look over here in this blue bar beside problem number 1, you'll notice that in this circle there is a box, fraction bar box. That gives you the option of converting this decimal into a fraction. So I'm going to come over here, and you'll notice when I hover over that, you see the symbol I have right now? If I hover over that, you'll notice it changes to a little hand. So I'm going to click, and you'll notice that it changed that decimal to a fraction, -5/3. If I come back over here and I click again, it'll go back to a decimal. So when that little circle appears in that blue bar, you can click on that, and it will change you back and forth between a fraction and a decimal. I myself would rather write down -5/3 for the answer. But, you know, since you're having to type a lot of your answers right now, because we're turning things in digitally, it may be easier for you to type in the decimal. All right, so just to recap here. When you see a fraction bar like this, make sure you hit that divided by sign on your keyboard first, because we want to make sure we have that fraction bar, and then we can type the top where it belongs and the bottom where it belongs. All right, now this last one, I saved the best one for last. You'll notice this one has a lot of stuff going on. It's got these brackets. It's got a square root. You all may remember talking about square roots before. It's got absolute value bars, so this problem has a little bit of everything. What we're going to have to do here is make sure that we type really carefully. All right, so first of all, since I know I want a fraction, I'm going to go ahead and hit my division sign first. So that gets me set up. My cursor right now is at the top. Now, the very first thing that I'm going to type in on the top is the number 12. So a 1 and a 2. And now I'm ready for that bracket. Now you'll notice the Desmos calculator doesn't have brackets anywhere on it. Your computer keyboard does, but I would not use those if I were you. What I would do instead is where the problem has a bracket, I would use the grouping symbol the calculator provides, which is the parentheses. Okay? So instead of typing 12 bracket, I'm going to type 12 parentheses. So I'm going to click on the parentheses and put that there. Now I want 30 minus. So I'm going to do 30 minus. Now I need parentheses again. So I'm going to hit this left parentheses to open up a new set. Now, I've got to enter the square root of 81. If you'll look over here on your keypad on the very bottom row, right next to ABC, you'll see your square root. So press that, and then you'll put 81. Here's where I need to talk to you about something, because you'll notice that in this problem over here, the 81 is the only thing that's under that square root. The plus 4 to the 2nd power is not under that square root. But watch what would happen if I keep typing right now. If I put plus and then 4 raised to the 2nd power, I want you to notice that what I have over here doesn't match at all what I have over here, because that square root kept growing. So I'm going to back up. Here's my backspace key, just like you would use on your computer keyboard. I'm going to back up till I get to that 81. And this is another place where we've got to use this right arrow key right here to tell my calculator, hey, the 81 is the only thing inside of that square root. So I'm going to hit my right arrow, and you'll notice the cursor pops out of the square root, so I can go on now. So now I'll do plus 4, and then I'll hit my a squared key to raise that to the second power. Now, after the 4 squared, I need parentheses and then a bracket. So I'm going to type that as parentheses and then parentheses. So parentheses and then parentheses. And you could kind of see there that grayed out on my screen. Those were already there. The calculator was already kind of anticipating that. Okay, so now let's look at the top. Does it match up with what we see on our paper over here? And the answer is yes. So now we'll click to the bottom and do what we got to do down here. So the first thing we want is the absolute value of 10. So I'm going to come over here and click on the absolute value of A. And between those two bars, I'm going to put the number 10. Now, my minus sign is outside of those absolute value bars. So I'm going to click outside the absolute value bars to the right and hit my minus sign. And now I need absolute value bars again. So absolute value of A again. And then to type in -6, we do -6. Now again, give that problem a look one more time. Looks fine. So go ahead and hit your enter button and notice that the answer on that problem is 15. Now I'm curious. I want to know if I used my bracket button on my computer keyboard, if it would work. So I'm just going to try this to see what happens. All right, I'm going to hit my fraction bar and then 12. And then I'm going to do the bracket from my computer keyboard. 30 minus parentheses square root 81. Get out of the square root and then do plus 4 to the second power. And then I need parentheses and then a bracket. On the bottom, absolute value of 10, get out of there, minus absolute value, -6. All right. That's what I kind of figured would happen. Notice that it's popped up this little triangle with an exclamation point inside of it, and when I hold my little pointer over that, it says cannot index a number with a number, which is telling me that those brackets are messing the calculator up. He doesn't know how to deal with those. So when you see brackets or any other type of grouping symbol for that matter in one of these problems, you're going to have to stick to the type of grouping symbol that you have, and you're going to have to use parentheses in their place. So whenever you see brackets, braces, type parentheses in their place. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that one off of there. So to kind of recap, we're practicing today with typing these order of operations problems into our calculator. This calculator has everything you need. Right here is your squaring button, raising something to the second power. Right here is your raising a number to all the other powers. The big thing to remember is that, like, if I'm doing 5 raised to the 4th power, once I finish that, I've got to hit this right arrow to get me down from there. Because if I don't do that, like if I'm typing in a 5 after that, it's going to mess it up. So make sure after you type in that exponent, you hit your right arrow, watch your cursor, and bring it back down where it needs to be. You've got your absolute value bars right here. You've got your square root right here. All your numbers and operations. When there's a big fraction bar in the problem, remember to hit the fraction bar first to get that set up and ready to go. So like that, so that you have your numerator and denominator ready to go. And then this blue button right here is your enter button. So hopefully you're able to follow along with that. You're going to have an assignment today to do on the calculator. No showing work, so you won't need paper. You'll just need your calculator and the assignment. Remember how to split the screen. Let me show you that one more time before I leave you. All right, so when your worksheet is full size like this, when you open it up, click on the bar at the top, and you can drag it to either the left or the right. It doesn't matter. I'm going to go to the left this time. Okay, and then for your Desmos calculator, same thing. He'll come up full size. Click and drag him to the other side, all the way as far as you can, and that'll put them side by side on your screen where you can see them. I hope that'll work on a Chromebook. It should. If there are any questions at all, please let me know. Have a good day.